Good morning, folks. We've got a great show for you today. I'm super excited to be here. The race is on. We have the two smart ones running for the deal. they you've got a group of people that have been indicted. A lot of information have happened with the Georgia indictments, but right now, the most important thing that's happening is we've got Chesebro and the Kraken breaking away from the group. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about major news coming out of Ukraine. There's been a huge development there, and other news of the day. So let's just get into it. Grab your coffee, grab your pen and pad for the roundtable discussion at the end of the show. Let's do this. Welcome, everybody. We've had a lot that's happened over the last week. We all got to enjoy uh, Trump's mugshot, the first time that he's actually been treated half-assed like a normal individual. Although I don't think anybody else has ever been brought in and out of the Fulton County Jail in 16 minutes. Um, but we do have some things. I always like to. I don't want to be the first person to talk about something. I'm never into being the breaking story guy because the breaking story is never the story. It's just kind of sort of what's happening, and then the really interesting stuff happens, and that's what we've seen uh, over the last few days. We've got the Kraken here, seen on the left with Kenneth Chesebro. The Chesebro have broken out and asked for a speedy trial. And I'm looking at the coverage from the corporate media on this. Let's talk about that first for a second. The corporate media is talking about this in basically in two ways. One, oh, this is really bad for Trump, and this really screws up Trump because he's trying to delay everything. They're just looking at the delay aspect. Then the other side of it is that, oh, this is really good for Trump. I mean, this you're talking about the same news organizations, different talking heads on the same news organizations, now saying that this is really good for Trump and Cheese Bros taking one for the team when it was just Kenneth Chesebro. Because remember, he broke out first, folks. He's the one that ran and asked for a speedy trial. I'm going to explain the significance of that in just a second. But these same talking heads are spinning two different stories about the same event on the same networks, and it's just blowing my mind. And neither narrative actually hits what's going on and what's so significant about this. You had Cheesebro break out first. He wants a speedy trial. Then Sidney Powell, oh, no, you don't. She went and filed for a speedy trial. Why? I mean, you've got the two attorneys. These are Kenneth Chesebro and Sidney Powell were actual working attorneys. These are people that actually did it for a living. They know what to do for themselves in this situation. They do. They're not like the rest of these mopes that are hanging themselves at every opportunity for Trump as part of the cult. These two understand the legal machinations. The request for the speedy trial has nothing to do with hurting or helping Donald Trump. Nothing at all. It is 100% about starting the negotiation process for a deal. That's what the speedy trial requests are about. They do not want to be part of the pack when this comes to trial. They don't want to be caught up in Trump's nonsense. They don't want to be seen by Fannie Willis as being part of the problem. They're ready to cooperate. They're flipping. And this is step one of flipping for them. Now, being attorneys, they don't want to just, pick up the phone and say, hey, yeah, okay, well, I'll cooperate and take what you get. They're utilizing the process. They're utilizing the process. See, when they're going to trial, part of what happens is the judge says, okay, you two, brings them in and says, I really want to see a deal here. I really want to see a deal here. And you're going to get both sides that are going to respond to that by saying, oh, no, 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 we can't do that. No, no, no. We're innocent. And the defense will say, we're innocent. We're innocent. Kim P, thank you. I appreciate the support. Ride or die Democrats forever. We will win in 2024. Hell yeah, we're going to win in 2024. Hell yeah, we are. But you've got Chesebro who did it first. He comes out and says, look, I want a speedy trial. That's going to facilitate communications between his attorney and Fannie Willis. That is what Chesebro is doing here. This whole speculation by the mainstream media, I hate to use that term, but I call them the corporate media, that this is somehow something to do with Trump, that is either trying to help Trump or, tip Fannie Willis's hand, all of the other stuff. Donna, appreciate the support. That's a big chunk of support there. I really appreciate you. But they're trying to tip Fannie Willis's hands. That's nonsense, folks. That is pure nonsense. Fannie Willis isn't allowed under the law any surprises. She isn't. So this whole notion that this is somehow to show the Trump team that Chesebro is just a good soldier, falling on his sword, taking one for the team, so that he can out Fannie Willis's plan for the trial and give Trump a look at it while he goes to prison is nonsense. It's complete and utter nonsense. Appreciate the support, Paul Germana. Give me. There is no way that thanks, Burn Popcorn. I appreciate the support. I really do. You guys are the best. You are really the best. You're really the best. You really make this possible, and I appreciate it. It just, I don't know. It doesn't even anger me anymore when I see this out of the corporate media. It doesn't even anger me anymore when I see this. Back at you, David Markson. I appreciate you. David Markson says, big Texas size love for you, Mr. Paul. I appreciate that. I do. Back at you, brother. You're the best audience there is, and I love each and every one of you. I appreciate you being here. Hell, I even appreciate the trolls being here. But yeah, I mean, imagine being a legal analyst and looking at this situation and saying that Chesebro's doing this just so that they can get a look, knowing full well that Fannie Willis is going to turn everything over in discovery. I appreciate it, Thomas. Thanks for the support, Lisa. Bonnie Willis has to turn everything over in discovery. And it is not like some TV show where they bury everything and make it impossible for the defense to know what the prosecution is doing. That's a real quick way to get sanctioned by a judge. It is. It's a really good way to get that case dismissed is screwing with discovery. That only happens in TV, folks. So no, this whole notion that Chesebro was doing this to fall on the sword is stupid. It's just stupid. And then on the other end of it, to say, oh, he's really mad and he's doing this because he wants to screw with Trump's plans. This doesn't affect Trump at all. It doesn't affect Trump at all. Their request for a speedy trial does nothing to Trump's trial schedule. Not a thing. Now, if 17 or 18 of them did it, yeah, the judge might be more inclined to move things up for Trump. But no, nobody is going to do anything at all. Trump is going to be treated with kid gloves. I hate to tell you that, folks. I really do. I hate to tell you that. He is going to, he already has. Look at the way when he surrendered. You had the Fulton County Sheriff come out and say, oh, we're gonna be a tough guy. We're gonna book him. We're gonna treat him no different. I guarantee you nobody else has ever made it out of the Fulton County jail booking process in 16 minutes and allowed to turn over their own bio data. And if Trump is 6'3", 215 pounds, then I am I don't know. I am Jason Momoa because Chris Hemsworth is 6'3", 215 pounds. So yeah, they're already treating Trump with kid gloves, and they're going to throughout this trial because they do not because any love for Trump. It is not out of any love for Trump. It is Trump's defense is looking for any reason for appeal. Because after he's convicted, and he will be convicted in quick order, he will. This isn't going to take forever, folks. Bowman says, Texas Paul, do you think if they paint Trump green, he will look like the Grinch? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially with the hair. But back to what I was saying about Chesebro, because that was all we heard was Chesebro's doing this to help Trump, or Chesebro's doing this to hurt Trump. No, Chesebro was the smart one in this situation. It doesn't take a genius to see that these prosecutors, Jack Smith as well, they are not charging difficult to understand or complex crimes. They're not. They are charging straightforward, easy to prove. You're talking 2-week long cases max. They're doing this because these charges have teeth. They have minimum mandatory jail time, and they're easy to prove. And Chesebro knows this. And so does Sidney Powell. Sidney Powell is a practicing attorney here in Texas. She is. The Dr. Pepper Princess is absolutely a practicing attorney here. She understands how this works. She knows what triggers the beginning of negotiations. She's asked for her trial. By October, Sidney Powell's attorneys, Kenneth Chesebro's attorneys will have sat down with Fani Willis, and they will have said, this is what we have to offer. We want recommendations below the minimum guidelines. And everybody will have sat down before the judge because, folks, the first one to make the deal gets the best deal. The only other person that gets a comparable deal is the one that flips with the most valuable information. The most valuable witness and the first witness get the best deals. So yeah, the Kraken has cracked. She saw what Kenneth Chesebro was doing and she said, "Oh, no, you don't. Oh, no, you don't. Not without me, you don't." And the two attorneys that know what the hell they're doing are flipping. That's what's happening here. That is what's happening here. First, they demand the speedy trial. Then the attorneys start negotiating back and forth because the judge will tell them to, folks. Judges don't want trials that are unnecessary. That's one of the first meetings they're going to have is they're going to sit down with the judge and they're going to say, "Is there any chance at all for a deal?" And both sides at that meeting will go, "No, no, we're right. We're right." And the judge will say, "BS, enough. You will come together or I will not be your friend." And then they will get together and they'll have another discussion. And that's when both Cheesebro and Sidney Powell will start saying, there's one or two things I didn't tell you that I'm more than happy to share with you. I'm more than happy to be a professional witness for you." I mean, they're going to offer everything. They're going to offer looks into their underwear drawer at that point, and they are going to sink Donald Trump. Janet Moorcraft says, "Thank you for bringing sanity to America." Hey, no problem. I'm glad to do it. I am just frustrated. Tell me, folks in the audience, I want to see it in the comments. Tell me you haven't seen that on the corporate media. Tell me you haven't seen those two narratives. They've just been driving me insane. None of them are based in fact. None of them. It's all daytime drama. It's all daytime drama. And that's not the job of the news, folks. That is not the job of the news. That's not what we do. It's our job to bring the facts. It's our job to bring the facts. And the fact is there's a reason the two practicing attorneys that know what the hell they're doing. Rudy, take a look at Rudy here. That has to be the saddest. He's in that mugshot group of mugshots also. Let me bring it back up for a second. Rudy, look at Rudy there. I mean, my God. That guy knows you're supposed to smile. You're supposed to smile for mugshots, and he knows it. And just look at the guy. But he's not a real attorney. He hasn't been. He was a prosecutor. Prosecutors aren't defense attorneys. Yeah, they aren't. It's two different jobs. That's like trying to say offense and defense are the same thing. No, they're not. Sherry Foster, appreciate the support. She says, "Hi, Texas Paul posted on the Washington State Secretary of State's website blog requesting him to remove Donald Trump from the ballot via the 14th Amendment." Actually, that's happening all over the country, folks. There's one in Florida that's going forward as well to remove him from the ballot. But yeah, Rudy has spent the last, he's a grifter. He's a politician with a law degree. He's not a defense attorney. He's broke. He's being buried under defamation lawsuits and everything. We're going to talk a little bit more about Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss here in a minute. Rudy is just destroyed. He's trying to sell his home in New York to cover his legal expenses. And none of these guys had the money they claim to. You know, Jackie, I appreciate the support. I really do. Marcia, good to see you. Good to see you. Marcia's from the DFW area. She is. Wonderful place, by the way. If you come to Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth is a great place to visit. A lot of people like me there. A lot of people like me there in the DFW area. And Marcia, me and Marcia. But Rudy, I mean, he's trying to sell his house. He's not smart. He spent the last, a decade grifting in Ukraine and everywhere else. He's got that same syndrome Trump does. He just thinks that he's invincible. This can't be happening to him. I mean, if you watch the press conference, that's all he was. He was just shocked. I'm being indicted. I'm being booked. That's insane. I'm a lawyer. That can't be happening. I hate to say this, but they need to put Rudy on a suicide watch. That guy is a serious alcoholic, and I really, really, really Trump's an insane narcissist. He will never kill himself, but Rudy, I worry about. Rudy, I worry that he's not going to see a jail cell, put it that way. Yeah, he was a lawyer, but not that kind of lawyer. Papa Soup said Rudy was a lawyer, but not anymore. But yeah, he was a lawyer, but he wasn't that kind of lawyer. But those weren't the most interesting mugshots. They really weren't. For me, the most interesting mugshot was Travian Cootie. I mentioned this on the House Park show the other day. We have her mugshot. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. No, we have one where she's not in makeup. Hold on. There she is, Travian Cootie. I want you to think about Kanye West and how many times over the last couple years you've said, "What the hell happened to Kanye West?" Well, this is Travian Cootie. This was his publicist. This is the kind of person that was around him. I mean, you can just smell your screen. It smells like that woman went to Ruby Freeman's neighbors. Summed it up well, Salty Sylvester. Summed it up well. She is a psycho bitch. She really is. She went, let me tell you how psycho. She went to Ruby Freeman's neighbors' homes and told them that she was working for Ruby Freeman, that she was a crisis specialist working on her behalf. And she needed to vet Ruby Freeman. So anything bad that they knew about her, they should tell her so that they can prepare for it if it is to come out, because, people are attacking Ruby. She did that. She literally did that. Went to Ruby Freeman's neighborhood, went to her neighbors, pretending to be working for Ruby Freeman, and tried to get her neighbors to spill all the tea on it, saying that, oh, well, we need to damage control this before it happens. D Goddess, I appreciate the support. I really do. I really do. I'm not even kidding about keeping the lights on around here. It does. Keeps all the subscriptions paid and keeps the show rolling. I appreciate you. But that's not the worst of what she did. Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman met her at the police station while all this was going on, telling her, hey, piss off, lady. Stay the hell away from us. She threatened them in a police station. She threatened them. Told them if they didn't shut the hell up, the people were gonna come after him. I mean, that's psycho, man. That is psycho. But, by far, that's not my favorite mugshot. My favorite mugshot is Harrison Floyd. Harrison Ford, no, Harrison Floyd. This is Harrison Floyd. He's the guy that's still in jail. And I know, worst narrative of all. The guy from the Black Voices from Trump is the one guy they don't give bail. But this guy is, and again, the corporate media is just freaking killing me with this. They're focusing on the one line that the judge said. Judge Emily Richardson said that Floyd is a danger to commit more crimes, more felonies if he's released, and a flight risk. And all the corporate media talks about is judge says he's a flight risk. Well, look at Trump. Look at Trump. Trump's got a plane. Trump could fly to Russia. And look, they're holding this poor guy saying he's a flight risk. It's not what the judge said. The judge said you're being held because you are a danger to commit more felonies. And that's not even a joke, folks. I mean, that's not even, not even, I don't mean not even a joke. That's the wrong way to put that. That's not even slight, a granular bit of hyperbole. This guy has charges filed against him in Maryland. 2 FBI agents showed up at his home. Yeah, thank you. That's why I love this audience. That's why I love this audience. DK Hall. Man, y'all know what's going on. DK Hall says this dude fought the cops when they went to arrest him, so he's going to stay in jail. Yeah, it's a little more exactly, but exactly that direction, but it was actually more than that. It was 2 FBI agents identified themselves. They were serving him with a subpoena from Jack Smith in regards to the January 6th investigation. He gets in one of the FBI agents' faces, pokes him in the face and in the chest bumps him, almost knocks him down a set of stairs, and the guy's partner opens up his jacket and grabs his pistol, and that's when he backs down. So yeah, they're filing charges against Floyd for assault. Because when they turned around and walked away, it gets better. He attacked the FBI agents after they left, after they were walking away. And reports say that he body slammed one of them. But the corporate media, he's not a flight risk. Flight risk, hell. He's a psychopath. He's got no common sense whatsoever. This is the guy that runs Black Voices for Trump. These are the kinds of people that gravitate to Trump. Folks, I just want you just for a second, think about that. If somebody showed up at your house, showed you their FBI credentials, said, we're issuing you a subpoena to appear. You have to appear on such and such date. You have been served. Are you going to swing on these guys? Are you going to scream at them? Are you going to get in their face? You're going to chest bump them like you're some sort of tough guy? What the hell has to be wrong with this guy? That's why he's being held in jail. Because even after that, he continued on social media talking trash. He's proud of it. He's proud of what he did. He's a tough guy Trumper. Jeanette Moorcraft says, without facts, you can't have truth. Without truth, you can't have trust. Without these things, we have no shared reality, can't solve problems, and have no democracy. Nobel Peace Prize winner Nina Wilner. Absolutely. Well said, and thank you for the support. Thank you very much for support. And Andy Rome says, dumber than a bucket of hammers. Amen. Amen. I like the way you talk. I like the way you talk, the way you do things. But I mean, doesn't it just frustrate you though? You know, I'm old enough to remember when the news used to be a lost leader. It was not excited. A lost leader is something that you lose money on to attract people. So networks use the news to bring people into their networks. Hey, I like the way they handle the news. We should watch this show after the news. They used them as lead-ins to the 7 o'clock programming. That's why your news always came on at 5 and 6 and then 10. Because it was lost leaders to, after the 10 o'clock news on Saturday night, you had, you know, your comedy shows and your grown-up programming and it used to be real news. Now it's, oh, the judge is calling this guy a flight risk, and he's asking for a public defender, and they're not even giving him a public defender. No, they're not giving him a public defender because he can afford a lawyer. He can afford a lawyer. The judge denied him a public defender. He did. Because you don't just get to say, I want a public defender because I don't want to hire a lawyer. He said this. Oh my God. He said this to the judge. Lawyers are expensive. I've talked to several lawyers and they want like 40, 50 grand to defend this, up to $100,000. And I'm not going to saddle my family with that kind of debt. We shouldn't have done the crime. I mean, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. But no, we don't owe you an attorney just because you don't want to pay for one. This guy, how rich is this dude? Catherine Wilfong asked. This dude has been grifting since 2015. He has been raking in cash. This is his job. This is what he does. And people all over the right wing send this guy money. Your pawpaw, your crazy uncle, your all these right wing cult members send him money because he tells them Democrats don't speak for black folks. See, there are more of me out there than there are of them. And they're like, oh, here's some money, man. Yeah, I love this. I appreciate it. I mean, that guy has bank. He can afford an attorney. I mean, hell, we used to have shows that not only we talked about the news. Y'all remember the rest of the story? We not only had news. I feel sorry for this, millennials, Gen Z. They're not going to know what news is. Hell, we didn't just have news. We had shows that told you more about the news that we already got told about, which is kind of what I try to do here. Give you the rest of the story with Paul Harvey. Remember Paul Harvey? But folks, yeah. I mean, to me, that's what I like to do. That's what I like to do. I like to take a look at what's going on. Thanks for the support, Chewy. $20 is a lot of money, brother. That's what I like to do. I don't want to be the first guy out there, folks. I'm sorry, and I don't hope I don't disappoint you, because I'm not running out to social media every time something breaks. Mrs. Texas Paul got me with the indictments. I'll tell you that one. She got me. I was super excited about those. And I learned my lesson there. I never did that, and then I look what happened. I put the fake indictments out, and then I had to delete them like 5 minutes later. But that's why I don't do this. I wanna soak it in. I wanna see what's going on. I wanna see what's really going on so I can talk to you folks about it. Who else is telling you that Chesebro and the Kraken are cutting a deal? Because that's what they're doing. This isn't some awesome political tactic to help Trump. Come on, man. Anyways, there's more good news. Yahoo, God bless them. When one of them does well, I will tell you. I will tell you. I will give them the plug. Thanks for the support, Bert. I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you. When one of them does well, I always tell you, hey, look at the Texas Tribune. Anytime there's Texas news, go to the Texas Tribune. They're a Fort Worth-based paper that does really good work. Yahoo did a good job here. They did a really good job. They ran a story on. They pulled a Politico story in. Pardon me. But it's just fantastic. It's Trump's trial run, how an onslaught of court dates could sideline him from the campaign trail. If you want to read the whole thing, it's really good. It's got a breakdown of each trial, what's going on. It's really good. You can find it on Yahoo News or you can find it on Politico. Kim P, Texas Tribune or another is cutting staff. Yeah, everybody in the print media, because the Tribune actually does journalism. They have journalists on staff that go out and search. It's getting tighter and tighter. There's a lot of competition out there. That's why I refer people to them, Kim. That's why I do. Any support they can get to keep doing good work, great. But just to give you some idea of what we're talking about this article, Trump is about to be buried. About to be buried. Okay. Let me give you an idea here. Let me break this down. They did a great timeline of this. You've got the New York business fraud case. New York Attorney General Tish James is bringing that. That's coming on October 2nd. Okay, it's about to be September, folks. We're talking about a little over a month away, and we're out the gate. You've got the Tish James trial that's going to be a couple weeks. That's going on there. You've got the Fulton County Phase 1 trial that's going to happen 3 weeks later with Chesebro and the Kraken. Sidney Powell, their trials, they've asked for speedy trials. Those trials start 3 weeks into October. So you're talking like 7 weeks from now. That is going to be all over Trump's plate. Trump may not be on trial, but I guarantee you this is going to be hugely damaging for him in the middle of the primaries. He's going to be trying to run, and he's not going to do it. He's not going to be able to do it because he's just buried under this stuff. It's going to be one hit after another, after another, after another. And the reason I'm telling you this is I want you to think about the dynamic within the Republican Party and what's going to be happening as these, imagine a, battleship with big 16-inch guns, man. Reload and then again. It's just going to be an onslaught over and over and over again. You've got the trials in October. Then we've got the holiday. We've got the holidays, right? Immediately after the holidays, you got Jack Smith that's requested a January 2nd trial date. He is going to be able to split up. That's not going to go as a single unified trial. It's not. He's going to be able to split that apart. He's going to get, I guarantee you, Judge Tanya Chutkan, he's going to be able to get an earlier trial date. You've got the E. Jean Carroll, the second case, because remember when Dummy lost his case, he went out and then he opened his mouth and defamed her again. That case is coming up on January 15th, 2 weeks into January. E. Jean Carroll's going to run him through the ringer again. And I guarantee you that's going to make Trump's head explode because she already took $5 million of his money and she's about to take even more. Then there's another lawsuit that nobody's even talking about. It's just flying right under the radar. There's a group of people that are suing Trump up in New York. This is another civil trial that's scheduled for January 29th. These people are suing him for the grifting he was doing. There's a multi-level marketing uh, company called ACN. He promoted. Well, a lot of people's grandmas and grandpas lost a lot of money with this guy, and they have all gotten together and they filed a suit against him in New York. That one goes to trial on January 29th. That's going to be humiliating, folks. Keep an eye on that trial. That's going to be humiliating. Remember, he's going to be trying to move into the election. The Republicans are stupid enough. They're going to nominate him. I do believe they're going to nominate him to try to show us. I don't think they're smart enough. If they were smart, they would nominate Brian Kemp. They would nominate Brian Kemp because he's sufficiently a jerk enough to appease the jerks, but he's also not played in this. I'm not going to live in alternate reality land. When Trump was trying to get him to hold special sessions in Georgia and whatnot, he said, no, 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 we're not doing that. We're not doing that. But they're not smart enough. They're going to nominate Trump, I believe. Unless these trials do more damage than I'm anticipating, because they are going to be bad. I mean, there's going to be a lot of untoward information that's going to come out in these trials that are going to make headlines. But Republicans just like to teach us a lesson, and they think nominating Trump does something to us. We beat him last time, we'll beat him this time. Anyways, the Fulton County, we come back to Fulton County on March 4th because that's when Trump's trial starts. We're going to have Chesebro and the Kraken in October. And you're going to get other defendants that are going to see what happens with Chesebro and Sidney Powell. They're going to go break away and also request speedy trials. So you're going to get those breaking up as they go. Not all of those defendants are going to go to trial at once. But think about that. We're now in March 4th, and here comes Fulton County, which is going to be huge. And Trump is going to see jail time at the end of it. But hey, didn't forget about Alvin Bragg, did you? Because his case is scheduled to go to trial March 25th, 3 weeks after the Fulton County trial in March started. Here comes Alvin Bragg. Remember Alvin Bragg, Stormy Daniels, the hush money case? That's scheduled. That's already on the schedule. That's already on the docket, March 25th. That's going to be a great one to have running while you're trying to run for president. Then we get back to Florida with Judge Eileen Cannon. And I'll tell you, Ben Meiselas did a great video. You should go back and check out Midas Touch's channel. He did a great job talking about how badly Eileen Cannon screwed up there with her scheduling because it puts her last. Think about all the damage that's going to happen to Donald Trump before, if she manages to make it to trial, which I'm telling you, I don't think she will. Thank you, Karen Collins. Exactly. She won't last. She will not be the judge on that trial. I'm going to stick my neck out there and I'm going to say that she's just screwing up left and right. But they're last. They're last. So yeah, what does your schedule look like for the next 5 or 6 months? Oh my God. Oh, and I'm already seeing people that are saying all over social media, I'm sick of hearing about Trump. It's Trump all the time. Oh, it's just getting started, brother. It's just getting started. Oh my God. But yeah, That's what I wanted to that's what I wanted to share with you. Not only do we have this crazy timeline coming up, not only, you know, I want you to be aware when the corporate media does this, if it looks like drama, smells like drama, sounds like drama, it's drama. Run for the hills. Come see me. Come see Midas Touch. We'll give you straight information. And speaking of straight information, we have big news coming out of Ukraine. This is massive, folks. What's been going on in Ukraine, right? It's everything you learned about trench warfare in World War One. That's what's been on in Ukraine. The Russians took all of the resources and threw them into creating fortifications to try to hold the Crimea. That's their last face-saving notion. It's just is to hold Crimea. They blew up the bridge on the Dnieper River to try to keep the Ukrainians from fording from the west and attacking into Crimea from the west. And when they blew up that bridge, they put up a ton of fortifications in the Zaporizhia region, south of Zaporizhia, in an area of a little village called Robatnya. And it's just I've got a graphic that's a rough representation of where their defenses are. If you look in this little square here, you see a little town of Tokmak right there. The Ukrainians are advancing on Tokmak right now. They've broken through this line, this major line. You see how it gets really thick and down around north of Mariupol. This is the area that we're talking about. Is that area? Zaporizhia, there's a big reservoir on the Dnieper River in the southern eastern portion of Ukraine. They blew the dam on the end of the reservoir to prevent the Ukrainians from sweeping in from the west, is which they initially thought that they were going to try to do. After they did that, the Russians immediately went to work and they built lines, defensive lines. They put out dragon teeth. Um, Let me show you what dragon teeth are. You've seen them before. They're three-sided concrete pillars that make it difficult for tanks to traverse. You can't drive over them. But as you can see from this picture, the Russians aren't geniuses. They've actually laid these out incorrectly. If you look at the left side of this image, you can actually see a clear lane here. A tank can keep one track on the ground here and drive over the edges of these. These are spaced too far apart, and they've created these lanes that the tanks have been able to penetrate. But yeah, you're going to hear a lot about dragon teeth over the next little bit. Um, yeah, yeah, Jeremiah. They are, when used properly, dragon teeth are tank eaters. I've lost your comment, but yeah, I agree with you 100%. So what's happened is you've got this massive line of fortification. Think about the Maginot Line. I mean, you've got this Russian fortification. It is open field. This is heading towards the Sea of Azov. In Texas and in most states, when you're going to the coast, you don't have mountainous areas, hilly areas. It's flat, usually a lot of farmland before you get to the coast. That's what they're fighting in, flat, open territory. So what the Russians did was they put out dragon's teeth. Then they put out massive amounts of mines. Then they dug tank trenches. And anti-tank trenches are 7, 8 feet deep. They have vertical sides. And then they put dragon's teeth and other obstacles in the bottom of this trench so that if a tank tries to fjord it, they can get in, but they can't get out. and they're easy target. Then here comes the artillery, and the tanks get destroyed. Catherine's Sophicatus says, how do you pronounce that? Sophiticus? Sophicatus. Catherine, I love your last name. I do. Busy bastard, she says. Absolutely, they have. They've been building up just a ton of these defenses. Now, after the tank trenches, then you have trenches that soldiers use, and behind that you have fixed artillery positions. Well, not fixed, but fortified artillery positions. So when the tanks get to come in, they're slowed down. You have to clear the minefields. The whole time you're doing this, there's artillery raining down on you. You have trenches for the Russians to defend themselves in. They can fire at the tanks. They can fire at soldiers. And you're talking about farmland, flat fields. This has been horrific fighting, just horrific fighting. And the major highway, the 35, I believe it is the main highway that runs south from Zaporizhia to Melitopol. They have trenches dug alongside that highway, so they can use it. The Russians can use it to move troops and ammunition quickly. But if the Ukrainians were trying to advance on the highway, it's a shooting gallery. It's just a shooting gallery. This has been brutal, folks. Mark Milley talked about it. It's just been looking at the defenses. We have satellite imagery that we've been sharing with Ukraine, and really, our soldiers have been cautiously saying, our generals have been cautiously saying, Ukraine may not be able to defeat this. I mean, this is really hell on earth. Mr. Knutson, good to see you, my Norwegian friend. Glad to have you here. He says, what do you say to U.S. friends on the left who believe Ukraine is full of Nazis, refer to Scott Ritter and Noam Chomsky as reliable sources? I tell them exactly the truth. There are Nazis in Ukraine. There are Nazis here in the United States. We're not like Germany where they rooted them out and made it illegal. We're not. There are white supremacists in Ukraine. There are some. There's some in just about every free society out there. But it's not the majority of who Ukrainians are. It's just elements that exist. No sense in, don't sugarcoat things and don't lie to people. People are smart enough to figure things out if you tell them the truth. Slava Ukraini. Thank you, Christopher Garcia. Christopher Garcia says, Ukraine for Ukrainians. Amen. Amen. And I don't give a damn what Vivek Ramaswamy says. The pharma bro says about trying to give away Ukraine's territory. It's not his damn territory to give away. But yeah, Mark Milley has done a couple of interviews where he's cautiously prepared people for the fact that Ukraine may not be able to break through these. And they did, folks. They did. Just meat grinder fighting and battles. They said, it's amazing. It just takes your breath away when you think about the kind of fighting. The tactic that finally won the day, they put their Leopard 2 tanks. You remember we talking about how great the Leopards are. Roy Perry says, no matter if Trump is on the ballot or not, everyone needs to get out to vote in every election. Amen. Amen. No matter how small, vote. Absolutely. Thank you for the support there, Roy. The tactic that actually won the day, they used the Leopard 2s, their most advanced tanks that they'd been given, not the Leopard 1s. The Leopard 2s have the more advanced optics. And that's why I say, folks, they need to hurry up and get those Abrams tanks on the battlefield. They do. I know they're supposed to start showing up next month, but they need to get them there as fast as possible. I know they've got to do training. It's an entirely different tank, an entirely different system, an entirely different engine. You basically need aircraft engineers with an Abrams tank. It's got a massive helicopter engine shoved into the butt of it. But yeah, we need those Abrams tanks on the battlefield. It was the Leopard 2s and the M2 Bradleys that won the day. They were able to clear enough mines, clear enough trenches, clear enough dragon's teeth, um, that they were able to get the Bradleys, mainly the Bradleys, the leopards were able to keep soldiers at bay enough to get Bradleys in position, and the Bradleys have I believe they're 30 millimeter cannons on top of them. Just opened fire on the trenches, parked in place, and just kept the Russians at bay, to allow them to move trucks, to allow them to move strikers and the more lightly armored personnel carriers through the trenches, and they were able to finally beat back through the main Russian defensive system. And it's just glorious because beyond that, the Russians, they still have minefields. It's still going to be hard fighting, but beyond that, they do not have the defenses in place like they did around Rubatnia. Once they take Takhmuk, which is the next town down, I believe we got a map of it here. Yeah, I do. Give me 1 second. I'll pull up you. Let you see where I'm talking about. This is from the BBC. The BBC's been doing a great job with this. But you see the number 2 here, that's Takhmuk. And you see the black lines here, those are those fortifications I was telling you about. Once they broke through those, and Robotnia is about where my cursor's at now, if you can see it, this dark spot right here. Once they broke through, you have this area, this soft area that leads down just south of Takhmuk is Melitopol. And they will effectively have cut the Crimea off. You'll still have the land bridge here, but they'll be able to attack that bridge. They won't, basically, they're only going to be able to use it to retreat. They won't be able to fortify their troops. It'll be constantly harassed, constantly shelled. This fight is, if they can hold this, if they can keep this line from collapsing on them, which all indications show because they are really progressing south. They're fighting in Takhmuk right now as we're speaking. The sun's going down in Ukraine. And that's when the Ukrainians use their technical advantage to move forward. That's when they use their technical advantage to move forward. They're going to be moving into Takhmuk tonight. So please keep your fingers crossed for them. You know, if you pray, say a little prayer for the Ukrainians because they're really, you can't imagine. I can't tell you in a way that could let you understand the kind of fighting this is. You know, just wide open, bloody battlefields, and they're leaving it all out there because if they can reach Melitopol, the Russians are done. They're done. Their people will be forced to retreat south. They won't be able to supply them. And the Sea of Azov here, interesting fact about the Sea of Azov, which is that body of water just south of what we were talking about. It is the shallowest sea on the planet. It's a meter to 2 meters deep in most places. The deepest parts of it are about between 40 and 50 feet. Um, Ships can't operate in it. So yeah, I mean, there's no artillery support from the Russian Navy that's going to be effective in preventing this. Once they reach Melitopol, and they appear to have survived the worst of it. Once they reach Melitopol, they will have effectively carved the Russian defenses in the south in half, and they will lose Crimea. They will. Lisa McMahon says, so basically the Sea of Azov is a friggin' lake. It's huge. So it's like a really big lake, I guess you could say. It's technically a sea, but yeah, it's really shallow. It's shallower than most lakes, put it that way. But Slava Ukraine. God bless them for the fighting that's going on. And you're really not seeing much in the news. You know, they'll tell you, oh, the Ukrainians had a good breakthrough. Well, yeah, but they don't tell you what it took and how much our support helped. It was the Bradleys and the Leopard 2s, folks, that made this possible. It was. It would have been less bloody if they'd have had air support, and it would have been less bloody if the Abrams had already been on the field. We need to get those what we promised there. You promises aren't keeping these people alive. It's equipment that's keeping these people alive. And when they take Melitopol, there's going to be a big push from the right. And the reason I want to say this, and we've got a huge international audience here, and I want you folks to hear me. The stuff you're going to hear out of the Republicans, the right in this country, do not represent the views of America. They do not. The Republicans are going to try to do everything they can to stall the Ukrainians, to slow the Ukrainians from getting the support they need. They're going to need artillery shells not seen in the quantity since World War II. They're going to need HIMARS rockets. They're going to need long distance HIMARS rockets. And we need to show our politicians on the left support for what they're doing. Trucker Dave says, Republicans, you mean Russian puppets? Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Mr. Newton says, best of luck to the brave Ukrainians who broke through the lines. We wish you all the best to take back your land. Make sure to treat Russian soldiers who surrender with respect. Good news, Texas Paul. Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up. You are the best audience. You talk about, yeah, y'all understand. The Ukrainians are not taking knives and carving body parts off of Russian soldiers when they capture them. They aren't. It was part of the deal of the support from the West is that you fight like we do. They're treating these soldiers that are surrendering with respect and dignity. In the middle of some of the bloodiest, harshest fighting, your children will read about this in history books. And Aaron says, since it's illegal to place a person who participated in an insurrection on a state ballot, how can maggots vote for Mr. Trump? I hear you. I hear you. Those lawsuits are going through, and they're going to win in several states. Trump has no chance. I just hope the Republicans don't figure that out and nominate other candidates that will be hard. I'm not worried about Glenn Youngkin. I am not. He is unappealing. The only reason Glenn Youngkin won in Virginia was us. We did that to ourselves. We put Terry McAuliffe on the ballot again, and Virginians have never elected a candidate that has run for re-election that many times. They never have. We should have never put Terry McAuliffe on the ballot. It was his arrogance that cost us that state and our own stupidity for supporting him. Glenn Youngkin does not scare me. Brian Kemp will be a fight. Brian Kemp will bring right-wingers to the polls. But as I've said before, as long as you show up, and I mean you individually, as long as you show up at the polls, we win. There are more of us. What has kept us from having a decent agenda in this country has been staying home. It's not that they're powerful and strong. They're not. They're just loud. And they vote in astronomically high percentages. They show up. These crazy bastards show up. You've got to counter that. You have to counter that. But folks, I just wanted to leave you with some good news of what was going on in Ukraine. You can't see that and not just, I don't know, proud's the wrong word. Proud's almost a condescending term. It's not pride. It's a type of joy and admiration and what the Ukrainians are doing and the fight that they're bringing. Just bless them. Bless them. I want to leave you now with a little bit on Jacksonville. We've got, I believe, 4 people dead now. In Jacksonville, Florida, we had a murderer we've had a murderer who is just a racist maggot piece of garbage, um, who's taking a look at everything that's going on. And this is what I was talking about when I was on Hal Sparks' show the other day. It's who they're, or pardon me, the last Tuesday on the Tony Michael show. I'm sorry. This rhetoric, the things that Trump and his subordinates are saying has impact. There are people out there that are insane. I'm not telling you you have to be afraid, but we just need to be aware that there are going to be one-off events like what happened in Jacksonville. That was a direct result of everything that's been going on. The Republican Party is collapsing and falling apart, and these people are losing their damn mind. The Jacksonville shooter guy walks into a Dollar General and just starts shooting people with an AR-15. Roy Parrish, they also need medical supplies. If you can support the guns, please support the bandages. Absolutely. Absolutely. We need to be sending those aid packages. We do. I know we have things to deal with here in our country, but believe me, it more than pays for itself. Slava Ukraini, Samantha Toda says, amen. But yeah, this guy, I haven't identified him yet. I like to get facts on people, and the next show we'll talk about him. But he didn't just go to the dollar store. He went to Edward Waters University. It's a traditional black university first, and was turned away there by security. Thank God they were on the ball. And that's when he went to the dollar store in Jacksonville. But this guy, just through his own self-proclamations, just because he hates, and I will never understand that. I will never understand that. I have never, how can you just hate people for being people? I don't get it. It's impossible for me to process these people. But he left a manifesto where he proclaims that it was his hate of black folks that made him do this. There's no place in our country for this anymore. We're not those people. This isn't the bad old days of the 50s and the 60s. It's not. We're not doing this anymore. And it's time we started to get a little bit more aggressive and proactive. I understand that we're a country that loves our freedoms, but there are other countries in this world that are just as free and more free than we are. And they don't allow this kind of stuff. This guy didn't come up in a vacuum. He didn't. Nobody gets this radicalized just by being angry by themselves. This guy was in an echo chamber. This guy was tied into the MAGA movement. This guy was tied into the right wing uh, white supremacy movement. He was living in an echo chamber. And all that echo chamber tells them is violence is good. And we need to start destroying these echo chambers. I understand people want to say free speech in this country. You can be a jerk. You can be an asshole. Thank you for the support, Tara. But that's not who we are. That's not who we are anymore. And it's time we started to differentiate between free speech and violent hate speech. Because I assure you, and I promise you, I will talk about it on Wednesdays or next Sunday's show, what made this guy what he is. And it's time to end it. It's time to end it. It's time to rethink the way we look at some of our rights. You don't, I'll use Germany as an example again. You see these guys in this country walking around with Nazi flags, with swastikas, with just That's not allowed. That's a crime in Germany, and it needs to be a crime here. Because what's free about that speech? I mean, really, what's free about that speech? That speech is rooted in hatred and oppression. That is not freedom. So yeah, we really need to put an end to these folks. We really need to put an end to these folks. We need to sh- we need to and this is how we do it. You're always saying, "How do we do this? How do we take Texas? How do we do this?" I will tell you. November 2023, not 2024 when the big presidential election is, 2023, we're going to have an election. Get your butt down and vote. Vote on all the little ordinances, spend an hour of your life learning what these the different ballot measures are and whatnot. And in November of 2023, get down and vote. Take out every Republican you can at the ballot box. Then do it again in 2024 and do it again in the midterms in 2025 and 2026, the midterm congressional elections in 2026. And I guarantee you by 2026, the Republican Party will be so weak that our politicians will be emboldened to actually take steps to do something about this. They will have enough power in Congress to be able to do something about this. And then all it means is show up. Show up in red states, show up in Texas, show up in Oklahoma, show up in Louisiana. Look at Georgia. Just a few short years ago, I would have told you that Georgia is going to be a blue state with blue senators, 2 blue senators, trending Democratic on the local levels. You would have told me I was insane. No. We just had a brilliant person by the name of Stacey Abrams that convinced everybody that if you show up, we win. And that's what's happening, folks. That's how we win. I'd like to think that I'm some sort of brilliant guy, tell you that I'm some sort of brilliant guy that invented this. I didn't. I didn't. God bless Stacey Abrams. It's really that simple. So you've got an election coming up in November 2023. Are you registered? Do you know where your polling places are? Republicans are doing a thing they love to move and remove polling places. September, October, November. You don't even get to count November because the elections are in early November. You got 2 months. Get your paperwork in order. Learn about these ballot measures and everything that's going on with your school board. Hell, run. Run. I'm going to have a group on here. I'm inviting them to come on. They're called Blue Horizon. They're working here in the state of Texas to make sure that we got a Democrat on the ballot in every election, that you have the alternative. That's what they're working towards. Run. Anyways, folks, we've only got a few minutes left. Let's take a look at the roundtable. I know I went a little bit long, but there's a lot of news today, and I just wanted to get into it. So, any comments or questions that you have, please throw them out there, and let's dive into it. I'm off my soapbox. Exactly, Zeb. Zeb S says you need to prove to them they are not the majority. Sadly, they think they are. They do. They do. These people are so loud and they have their little boat parades. You remember boat parades? You don't see many of them anymore. They have their little boat parades and they cover their pickup trucks and flags and they think that they don't pay attention to the fact that it's only 3 freaking trucks there. Catherine Camino says, so true, Texas Paul. If we show up, we win. Amen. Art Sai says this: when you suppress the right to vote in gerrymandered districts, people will come out in droves. Sadly, that is proven to be 100% true. 100%. That's what it took in a lot of areas to get people. Thank you, Benaloco. I appreciate that. Um, that's what it's taken in a lot of areas to get people to wake up that they will actually take your right to vote away if you don't show up. And that's what's getting a lot of people to show up. CJB says, Texas Paul, remind the MAGA Nazis why our grandfathers stormed the beaches of Normandy and fight the Nazis. Amen. Amen. You're always going to have people in this country, as long as we allow it, that are going to play on people's victimhood. It's really easy to tell somebody they're a victim. It is. You know, life's tough, man. Life is tough. Sometimes life sucks. And when life sucks, if you've got somebody whispering in your ear saying, it sucks because that guy's getting over on you, they don't have the hard life you do. They're just skating by. Hate them. They're the reason, not you. You're good. You work hard. You're the cornerstone of this country. And look at how hard you have to work. And they just skate by. Welfare queens, all of them. That plays, folks. That plays. And they tell each other that all the time. You know, it's like this small town nonsense. These people in small towns that have the worst schools, the worst power grids, the worst water system, the worst of every damn thing, think that they are wonderful because they have the worst and they survive it. No, that just makes you stupid. It just makes you stupid. You vote for people that tell you nonsense, that tell you you're special, and then they don't do their job running the government. Winston Sayers says, hey, America, let's all be adults and vote. The youngsters are counting on us. You know, Winston, that's true. But I will tell you this. There's something I want you to do. There's a movement I want you folks to help start. Get your kids involved. I'm so proud. All my grandkids vote. They do. All my grandkids vote. I talk politics to them. They understand. Do that. Get your grandkids involved. Get them involved with the local Democratic Party. You know, the local Democratic Party is a bunch of people with hair as white as mine, desperately wanting young folks involved. And if you want policies that are geared towards the future and our children's future, get your young adult children involved. They will make the future happen. They will. Well, folks, we're running low on time. I'm sorry I went so long. We were 20 minutes over, and I do appreciate that. I do appreciate you hanging out with me, and I'm glad you're here. I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Y'all have a wonderful Sunday. Enjoy it. We're about to have some beautiful weather in the first part of next week, finally here in Texas. It's been 105, 106 degrees, well over 100 degrees for weeks now. We're going to have some highs near 90 degrees. It's going to be wonderful. So I appreciate you folks. Get out and enjoy it. Have a great day.